Nobody warns you that the uniform they hand you was already worn by someone who didn't come back. Level 1, the conscript. You are 17 years old, and the letter does not ask, it informs. In North Korea, there is no distinction between invitation and order. And by the time you understand that difference, the truck is already moving. Your mother stands at the gate holding her own hands. Your father does not look up from the ground. You've seen this scene before, in your neighborhood, in the faces of older boys who left and returned as something quieter and more careful. Now, it is your turn. The drive takes most of a day. The landscape changes from streets to fields to mountains, with fences running along their ridges like stitches. When the gate closes behind you, it makes a sound that feels permanent. There are 40 others in the yard, all shaved, all thin in the same way, all looking at the same middle distance. The first meal is rice, plain, served in a metal bowl that is still warm from the last person who held it. You eat it completely. You eat the residue off the rim. You learn on day one that hunger here is not an occasional feeling. It is a permanent condition you will learn to manage the way other people manage weather. The first week is drills. March, halt, turn, march again. They teach you to hold a rifle before they let you fire it. When they do let you fire, they give you 3 rounds for the entire year. 3. You understand quickly that ammunition is not for practicing. It is for the day they actually need you to use it. You clean the weapon every day, regardless. Your hands must know it by touch. By the end of the first month, you no longer flinch at the sound of commands. You no longer wait for explanation. You simply move. That is the first thing the army takes from you. The pause between hearing and obeying. Level 2, the infantry soldier. The assignments come after 6 months. Most go to the border. You are most. The post sits at the edge of a province where winter arrives in October and does not leave until April. And even then, reluctantly. The barracks are concrete. The windows do not seal. At night, the cold comes through the walls, as though the walls are suggestions. You stand watch in shifts, looking through binoculars at the far bank of the river, at lights that mean nothing to you except that they exist and keep existing, regardless of how hungry you are. Pyongyang postings go to the ones with better family records. You know this without being told. You know many things here without being told. The political education sessions begin every morning before breakfast. You sit in rows and recite passages about the leader's wisdom. The instructor walks the rows. If your voice drops below the volume of the person beside you, you run. If your face does not carry the correct expression during the footage screenings, you clean waste facilities for 30 days. Correct expression means tears, or at minimum, a visible effort toward them. You learn to produce this on schedule. It takes 3 weeks of practice. By the end, you cannot fully tell the difference between performed emotion and the real kind, which may be the point. Food is twice daily: rice and salted cabbage, occasionally soy paste. Meat appears once in a month where something has gone right for the unit. You stop planning around it. You stop letting yourself anticipate it. Anticipation costs energy, and energy is rationed here, along with everything else. You watch the men around you across the first and second year. Something happens to eyes in this environment. A certain quality of attention goes out of them. Not stupidity, not madness, just a deliberate narrowing of what they are willing to see. You begin to do it yourself. It is not a choice. It is a survival adjustment. Soldiers disappear occasionally. No announcement, no investigation that you are aware of. The bunk is empty one morning, and then someone fills it, and no one says the previous name again. You learn the grammar of this place. Some words are permanently removed from the available vocabulary. Level 3, the section leader, the 3rd year. Promotion comes not because you excelled, but because you persisted, and persistence here is its own form of excellence. You are now responsible for 8 men. They look at you the way you looked at the section leader above you 3 years ago, with a calculation that is half fear and half study. You show them the rifle sequence. You show them the marching cadence. You show them how to stand during portrait inspection without blinking too often or too rarely. The extra ration that comes with the rank is real but modest. A slightly fuller bowl. Occasionally, something mixed into the rice that is not rice. You share portions of it with the ones who are visibly weakening, not from generosity, but because a man who collapses on your watch becomes your problem on record. Everything here eventually becomes a record. Discipline failures in your section are your failures. If a man under your command speaks incorrectly, you answer for it. So you listen to them constantly, not to their words only, but to the pauses between words, to the direction their eyes move when they think no one is watching. You become a reader of small signals. This skill will outlast the army. Some nights you wake before the alarm from dreams that are simply memories of your mother's kitchen, the specific smell of soup that existed only in that one room in that one house. You lie still and wait for the dream to finish dissolving. Around you, the barracks breathes and snores and occasionally whimpers. Morning comes with the trumpet, and the day begins identically to the one before it and the one before that. You teach your men the central lesson of institutional survival. Do not stand at the edges of anything. Stand in the middle of the group, at the middle volume, with the middle expression. Invisibility is the only reliable armor. Level 4, the platoon sergeant. The 5th year, there are now 40 men who answer to you. When you enter a room, they stand. When you sit, they sit. The power is real, and the responsibility attached to it is heavier than the power itself. If one of your 40 disappears into the system, the question of why begins with you. You have learned to read the political officer's face the way you once learned to read the weather along the border. A certain flatness in his expression means a report has been filed. A certain angle of attention during inspections means a name is already circled. You file your own reports. You are required to. You note who received letters from which provinces, who paused slightly too long during the morning oath, who smiled at something no one else smiled at. You do not decide what these observations mean. You pass them upward and let the machinery interpret them. Some of what you report results in nothing. Some of it results in an empty bunk. You do not track the ratio. Tracking it would require acknowledging the arithmetic. There are now 5 years remaining before discharge. If discharge comes, if the term is not extended as it sometimes is, as it was for the men who were here when you arrived and who are still here now, thinner with that particular quality of stillness that comes from a decade of managed survival. At night, the barbed wire along the perimeter catches the moonlight and turns it into something that looks almost decorative from a certain angle. You have learned to find those angles. Level 5, the junior officer, the 8th year. The examination was 2 years of study between duties. The party recommendation required cultivating relationships that cost you things you cannot name. The academy in Pyongyang was 2 years of meat and ideology and learning that the army is not primarily about fighting. It is about thinking correctly. And thinking correctly means producing, on demand, the conclusions that the institution has already decided are true. You return as a lieutenant. Your own room, small, with a single window that faces a wall. The portrait above your bed means you wake up facing it every morning. You are told, this is an honor. You accept this the way you accept everything here, completely and without visible reservation. You are married. The match was arranged through the appropriate channels, 2 families with acceptable records, a woman who works in a production facility and keeps her opinions in the part of herself that has no access to language. You see each other on scheduled leave. It functions. Your platoon is 45 men, and you know within 6 weeks which ones are reliable, which ones are suffering, and which ones are becoming dangerous in that specific way that precedes disappearance. Monthly self-criticism sessions. You stand before your peers and enumerate your ideological failures. Insufficient devotion during the anniversary ceremony. Inadequate fervor during the documentary screening. You say these things into the room and the room receives them with nodding faces, and you understand that this is not confession, it is vaccination. You demonstrate your loyalty by performing its failure. So the institution knows you understand where the boundaries are. The purges you have witnessed now number in the dozens. Men who were present at one meeting are absent from the next. Their names undergo a process of institutional forgetting that is so thorough it begins to feel geological. You do not ask. No one asks. Asking is itself a category of answer. Level 6, the political commissar. The 10th year and the rank is captain, but the role is something that does not translate cleanly into rank. You are the watcher of watchers. Your function is to move through the unit looking not for operational failure, but for the earlier condition that precedes it, doubt. You have informants at every level. Soldiers report on their bunk neighbors. Sergeants report on junior officers. Officers report on each other and on you, and you report on all of them. And somewhere above you, someone is doing the same. The reports accumulate into a document that has a red pencil moving through it. And the names the red pencil touches begin a process that ends somewhere you do not visit in your thinking. You have attended executions as witness and recorder. You stand at the required distance. You note the time, the method, the names of those present. You sign the document. You return to your office. Your wife serves dinner and does not ask about your day, and you do not offer it, and this arrangement is its own kind of loyalty. Some nights the faces surface briefly before sleep and then subside. You have learned not to pursue them when they surface. The ones who pursue them do not last long in this position. Morning arrives with its identical requirements, and you meet them with the same constructed composure that is by now indistinguishable from your actual face. You do your function because the alternative to doing your function is becoming its subject. Level 7, the general. 2 decades of accumulated survival. The car has a driver. The house has a fence, and men posted at the gate around the clock. The refrigerator contains items that would have been mythology to the 17-year-old on the truck. Your children attend the school where children learn a version of the country that resembles a promise rather than a place. They do not know hunger as a physical state. You have made sure of this, and you are not certain whether it is kindness or damage. The division is 10,000 people. Your signature moves through operational orders, but the political officer embedded in your headquarters signs the approval for your signature, which means the 10,000 people answer to your rank and to his authority and to the logic that produced both. You have watched colleagues vanish at every level, including this one. Men who commanded divisions and then simply ceased to exist in the institutional record overnight. No charge announced, no trial visible, just subtraction. At meetings in Pyongyang, you sit in the prescribed seat and applaud at the prescribed moments with the prescribed force. Special observers note deviations from the prescribed. You produce no deviations. You visit your troops occasionally and walk the rows of faces and recognize in them every stage of the thing you traveled through to arrive here, and you know they are correct to hold whatever they hold behind their eyes when they look at you. You cannot change the system. You are made of it. Level 8, the marshal. 30 years. Your face is on buildings. Children memorize statements attributed to you. The footage that plays in barracks across the country includes your image in the approved formation around the central image. You live inside a perimeter that almost no one crosses without being recorded. The food is inspected before it reaches you. The people around you have been vetted to a depth that required destroying some of them in the process of verification. Your power is the largest thing in every room you enter, and also the most fragile, because you have watched power at this level get removed from men who held it more firmly than you do now. You do not sleep through the night anymore. The thoughts that come are not guilt exactly. They are more like an accounting that refuses to stay closed. The lights of Pyongyang spread below the window on certain evenings, and the city is genuinely beautiful from this distance. And that is the last true thing about it. Behind the lights is the hunger you remember from the concrete barracks on the border, the same hunger, unresolved, carrying forward through every level of the institution that fed you and made you, and now requires you to smile at the camera and wave from the car and continue performing the permanence of a system that you know, in the part of yourself that still exists beneath all of it, is simply the longest kind of fear.